have kind of an unpopular opinion, but hear me out. You and your avoidant partner or your avoidant ex might have just been incompatible. I know that sounds annoying because a lot of times avoidant people use this incompatibility justification when they are leaving you. But the reality is that if you are more of an anxious person, or if this avoidant person made you feel anxious, there's a huge likelihood that the two of you actually are genuinely incompatible. I think it's really easy for us when we've been hurt by an avoidant person or left by one to classify that person as being a massively toxic person that is going to rot and die alone and have a horrible life. The reality, more often than not, is that it wasn't necessarily that either of you are toxic people, quote unquote, because a toxic person is someone that intentionally harms people. Like, they are getting off on harming people. They thrive in chaos and drama and gossip. And most avoidant people are not like toxic to their core. They just have these survival mechanisms in the same way that anxious people do. It's not that either of you are toxic people, it's that you are toxic together because your particular nervous systems triggered each other. If a more anxious person gets into a relationship with an avoidant person, it is 100% that those two nervous systems are going to be triggered by each other because the anxious person needs constant reassurance to make themselves feel safe, and the avoidant needs a little more space and very, very strict boundaries and a lot of independence to make themselves feel safe. Not necessarily is either person wrong, they just have different attachment styles and different nervous systems. And what happens is when they are both trying to force this relationship to work, it's like putting the wrong ends of a magnet together. You can't get it to go together. It's like forcing itself apart because you're both constantly triggered the whole time. So let's say that an anxious person then gets into a relationship with someone that is more leaning secure. Maybe they have some anxious tendencies or even some avoidant tendencies, but they are leaning more secure. So they just have an ability to reassure the anxious person more. They are not triggering the anxious person so much. They are a little bit more available and consistent. That anxious person, even though they have anxious attachment, they're not going to be triggered so often, and so they're going to have the ability to heal somewhat inside of that relationship with that other person. The same thing is true with avoidant people. I know a lot of you are going to be thinking, like, this sounds like an excuse for avoidance behavior. Like, avoidants are going to rot and die alone. That's just the end of it. I want to think about it that way because I don't want to think about them being happy with anyone else, which I can completely understand. And listen, maybe the avoidant person you dated is inherently toxic and like they are going to be that way in every relationship. That's a huge possibility. However, most people, whether you're fearful, dismissive, anxious, have some toxic traits, but are not inherently toxic and could do a lot better being suited with the right person. And I know it's so hard to think about it this way because it's like once that avoidant person leaves your life, that can be so fucking crushing and devastating. Like, I remember how fucking painful that was and just wanting him back so bad. But I'm so glad that we never got back together because when I think back to that relationship, my nervous system was triggered the entire time because at the end of the day, he and I were incompatible. Like, to our core, we were incompatible. And I'm not even necessarily talking about like hobbies or things that we like. I'm talking about our nervous systems, the way that we interact with the world, the way that we interact and connect to other people. We were incompatible. I require someone that is reassuring, that is doting, that is validating, that is extremely emotional and sensitive and romantic. That is just the type of love that I need. And he requires someone that is a bit more independent, someone that's a bit more social, someone that doesn't mind space, someone that doesn't have these very, very deep-seated emotional needs like I do. And there are people out there like that. There is someone that would be better with him than I was. And it's a good thing to look at it this way. When someone leaves your life, that is a huge clue that that person was incompatible, and this leaves room for you now to find someone that you are compatible with. Being in my current relationship now with someone whose nervous system makes me feel so calm, so serene. The minute I see him or I'm with him, I feel immediately at peace. We are both introverts. We are both homebodies. We sit around, watch Love After Lockup, go antique shopping, and eat. Like, that is what I always needed and wanted. That is the type of love that I require. And the avoidant leaving my life made room for this. And I'm so happy that it did.